It's better to leave the cigars, Masha. Why the hell do we need it? Damn. Right now, we are in the apartment of Ukrainian bumpkins, and now this is Russia.
The Russian army is increasingly losing old tanks, such as the T-62, in Ukraine amid a general decrease in losses of newer vehicles. Military analyst Richard Veriker reported this on the X platform. A detailed analysis of the losses of Russian tanks in the war against Ukraine, based on visually confirmed data from warspotting.net, revealed a significant decrease in the total number of losses, as well as significant changes in the composition of destroyed vehicles. The main trend is the overall reduction in Russian tank losses, which has been going on for some time, but became particularly noticeable in June and July 2025. At the same time, between March and July, the total number of losses of T-62 tanks increased by 2.5 times, which is likely due to the active use of these vehicles in the positions of the Russian occupiers. According to the author of the study, Russia is trying to withdraw newer tanks to reserve units to preserve them, which is evident in the significant reduction in losses of T-80 family vehicles. Since the beginning of the full-scale war, the Russian army has lost 3,545 tanks as of July 2025. Particularly low rates of losses were recorded in June, 19 tanks, and July, 25 tanks, which emphasizes the recent slowdown. At the beginning of 2025, the dynamics of losses were as follows: Luty, 70, March, 68, April, 60, May, 34, June, 22, July, 19, August, partially, 2. Among the total losses, T-72 tanks accounted for the largest number of tanks, 1,529 units, followed by T-80, 1,113, T-62, 274, and T-90, 168 units. Militarny previously reported that in July 2024, the Oryx analytical portal published information that the Russian army had lost its 100th most modern T-90M tank. According to the open sources, the analysts were able to count 100 destroyed and damaged T-90M tanks using available photo and video materials. This list also includes vehicles that were captured by the Ukrainian Defense Forces or abandoned by Russian crews on the battlefield without serious damage. It should be noted that among all the tanks used by the Russian army in the war against Ukraine, the losses of the T-90M are relatively small. But if we take into account only the modernized vehicles, these losses are among the largest. Badly injured Russian soldiers who have lost arms and legs and have severe shrapnel injuries are being beaten by officers and forced into carrying out assaults, according to a soldier's account. The constant suffering and cruelty is driving men to desertion and suicide. A soldier from the battalion of the 55th Separate Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade, Military Unit 55115, says in a video that he was denied medical leave after being wounded by fragments and was sent on a combat mission instead with severe inflammation and a rotting leg. The man says he was not allowed to return to Russia for medical treatment. Instead, soldiers are now all being treated in field hospitals in the occupied Donetsk and Luhansk regions. Other accounts suggest this is being done to reduce the high number of desertions. After his injury, he was given treatment but was not allowed to convalesce and was sent back to the front line. He says he was not given any compensation for his injuries and his salary was stopped in March due to a pending criminal case against him. He does not explain why he is facing charges, but it may be related to his admission at the start of the video that, with God's help, I rolled back, retreated. Russian commanders have dealt harshly with retreating soldiers, executing them in some cases. The man says that the unit's command is covering a shortage of frontline personnel at the expense of the wounded. He describes how medical staff falsely declare soldiers to be fit. They say that your injury is not included in the list of injuries, and they just don't give you a certificate of injury. That's simple. It's happening. You can't understand what's going on here. Even the doctors themselves and orderlies are participating in this chaos. A military doctor who deserted from the Russian army in May 2025 has described her first-hand experiences of such false diagnoses, which she says is done routinely. Officers treat their men brutally, extorting money from them and beating them before sending them into assaults. The soldier blames his unit's political officers, who are responsible for unit morale and motivation, for the ill treatment. Why then do we need these deputy political officers, battalion political officers, company political officers, and so on and so forth? Why do we need them? Just to waste us here, beat us up, spend time on training and send us to the front line for good, then recruit new ones, and so on and so forth. It's not a very effective way of raising morale, as he points out, because it results in suicides and desertions. A man shot himself because he was exhausted. Some run away, some shoot themselves. He shot himself in my dugout. They did it because they wore him out. Everything was fine in his family. He just couldn't handle all this workload that's being put on us. It's impossible. We're all in pain. We're all wounded. One of us is covered in shrapnel, their entire body from head to toe. And still he has to fucking run like a healthy person, jump, leap, take off, show professionalism. How can he show professionalism? It hurts him. It hurts, fuck. You see, he can't run, he won't run away. I didn't sign the contract to become a slave to all this lawlessness that is happening. I thought I came to really fight, but I ended up in a meat grinder. Just a meat grinder, a senseless meat grinder. There's no point in looking for justice here. There is no justice here. Russian troops proudly display the looting of Ukrainian homes in recently occupied areas of Sumy region.
It's better to leave the cigars, Masha. Why the hell do we need it down? Right now, we are in the apartment of Ukrainian bumpkins, and now this is Russia.
You can take their backpack. The Ukrainian dicks don't complain about life, they like everything.
Outburn!
Ukrainian drone operators from the 2nd Battalion of the 63rd Separate Mechanized Brigade on the Lyman Front used ramming tactics to down Russian Mavic drones while keeping their own UAVs operational. Russian propaganda outlet Sputnik claims the U.S. brokered deal between Baku and Yerevan is presented as a step toward peace, but in reality threatens the North-South corridor. The Zangezur corridor is now under American control, which could jeopardize Russia's access to Iran and India. With American influence in the region, a crisis, even a military one, could erupt at any moment, likely hinting at possible new Russian operations. Despite Russia's long-standing diplomatic efforts, Armenia and Azerbaijan have, apparently, chosen the West, the outlet writes. The agreement between Baku and Yerevan under U.S. control poses a threat to the North-South corridor. Economist Vasily Kolosno commented on the results of the meeting between Aliyev and Pashinyan in the USA. The transfer of the Zangezur corridor under U.S. management threatens the trade route from Russia to India, which also concerns Iran. Now there will be countries under American influence in this region, which at any moment could provoke a crisis, up to a military one. Russia tried for a long time to prevent such a development of events through diplomatic means, but in the long term, these efforts proved ineffective. The desire of Armenia and Azerbaijan to come under American-British influence prevailed. Bolton. This is not quite as bad as Trump inviting the Taliban to Camp David to talk about the peace negotiations in Afghanistan, but it certainly reminds one of that. The only better place for Putin than Alaska would be if the summit were being held in Moscow. So the initial setup, I think, is a great victory for Putin.
I mean, you were in the room in 2018 in Helsinki when this happened. What do you make of the fact that Putin has now been invited to Alaska?
Well, it's very gracious of Putin to come to former Russian America for this summit. This is not quite as bad as Trump inviting the Taliban to Camp David to talk about the peace negotiations in Afghanistan, but it certainly reminds one of that. The only better place for Putin than Alaska would be if the summit were being held in Moscow. So the initial setup, I think, is a great victory for Putin. He's a rogue leader of a pariah state, and he's going to be welcomed into the United States. Second, I have a feeling this is sliding very quickly in Russia's direction. We're not quite back at February the 28th in the Oval Office when Trump told Zelensky, you don't have any cards. But what's happening is that Russia and the United States are discussing what terms they're going to present to Zelensky. And it may well be that Zelensky has no choice here. Surrendering is always one way to get a peace deal. And it seems to me, you listen to Trump talking about how things are progressing, that even without the meeting, Putin's got his old magic back with Trump. And all that disappointment, all that outrage, so on and so forth. Now you're talking about a deal between Trump and Putin. Think of the press that will get. I have to say, from the strategic perspective, from the U.S. interest perspective, this was not a good day.
Well, I mean...
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comments section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.